The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 42. Paul nodded in excitement, and blurted out, "Thank you so much, Mr. Charlie, I will arrange for someone to do it quickly." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, I haven't finished talking yet." Paul hurriedly said respectfully, "Mr. Charlie, please tell me." Charlie said, "When you put a film on the glass, you also have to place a golden brave on the left and right sides. It must be made of pure gold to play the best role in fortune. Moreover, Paxiu is famous. The best way to keep money is to eat but not pull, but not to get in. This is tantamount to setting up a feng shui bureau for keeping money. After the money comes in, you can keep it, and your business will naturally flourish." Paul held a fist at Charlie with a grateful look, and said respectfully, "Mr. Charlie is indeed worthy of the title of Master. From today onwards, I, like everyone else, will respect you as Master." Charlie smiled and waved his hand, "You don't need to call me Master. If you call me Master in front of my old master, or in front of your mother, I don't know how to explain it to them." Paul blurted out, "From then on, in front of them, I will call you Mr. Charlie, but when not in front of them, I must call you Mr. Wade." Having said that, Paul immediately took out his checkbook again, and wrote and painted on it for a while. Then he tore off the check, dragged his hands to Charlie respectfully and said, "Master, this is a supply. Please accept your expenses." Charlie glanced at it and found that the check was written for 4 million, and he said to Paul, "1 million is already a lot. You don't need to be so polite with me. I will accept this million, but this 4 million you should take it back." Paul resolutely said, "No, Master, if it weren't for you, I might just be in Oris Hill in the future with not much wealth." Charlie waved his hand and smiled, "These are just some sayings about feng shui. Even if I don't point it out to you, you may not be able to make money. After all, your law firm has been in business for so many years and is already very famous." Paul said earnestly, "Master, it is true that when my dad opened a law firm, he first took a few cases and lost all of them, and the reasons for losing the case are strange. During that time, using my mother's words said, Dad happily drank cold water and stuffed his teeth. Later, my mother invited a feng shui gentleman from Chinatown to see feng shui in my dad's law firm. At first, my father rejected this kind of Oriental feudal superstition, but when that feng shui gentleman clearly figured out what happened to my father after a few difficulties, my father realized that the mystic academic feng shui was really extraordinary. Then the feng shui gentleman changed the layout of my father's law firm and re-established a feng shui bureau for him. Since then, my father's law firm has prospered." Speaking of this, Paul said with emotion, "If it weren't for the feng shui man at the beginning, my father might have failed at the beginning of his business, so there would be no Smith law firm, which is why I am so firm. Believe in the reason of feng shui." Charlie didn't expect that at the beginning of the Paul's business, it was because of feng shui that it survived. Feng shui sometimes is so magical. When you are ready and owe the east wind may not come. Then no matter how you prepare, it is impossible to succeed. Feng shui, in the subtlety, plays the role of borrowing the east wind. Paul's admiration for Charlie really called a five-body cast. He himself is an American who looks more like a Chinese. He is obsessed with Chinese traditional culture and feng shui metaphysics, and he believes very much. Everything that Charlie said just now made him feel that this man's accomplishments in feng shui were unfathomable. So he didn't understand why someone would give Charlie a luxury villa worth more than 1 billion. Paul is very aware of the importance of a feng shui master. A good feng shui master can not only help people improve their luck and gather wealth. It can even help people change their lives against the sky. Therefore, the better the feng shui master, the higher their appearance fee and the higher their worth. For example, Hong Kong's Li Jiaqin, it is said that their royal feng shui masters will pay hundreds of millions for one visit. Therefore, he even felt that his 4 million check was a bit small. He knew he should write him a check for 10 million. Thinking of this, he directly shredded the 4 million check and threw it aside, and then hurriedly rewrote a 9 million check and handed it to Charlie respectfully. "Mr. Wade, please accept it." Charlie said earnestly, "Paul, I'll charge you 1 million, it is already enough, you don't have to give it to me anymore." Paul said very seriously, "Mr. Wade, feng shui metaphysics itself emphasizes piety. In some respects, money is also a representative of piety, so I hope you can laugh at it. Otherwise, you will appear to be insincere." Charlie is not short of money. There are nearly 22 billion in the entire account, so he doesn't know how to spend it. Whether Paul gives him 1 million or 10 million, there is actually no difference to himself. Charlie was not going to ask Paul for too much money. The money was just a form. He had no opinion on how much he gave, but he gave too much, and it was indeed not appropriate. However, Paul was very determined, and he was unwilling to take the money back. He insisted on letting Charlie accept it. Seeing this, Charlie no longer shied away from him, saying, "Since you have to give me the money, I will accept it first, but if I need to use your barrister in the future, you must charge as much money as you should." Paul smiled and said, "How can that work? You are master. You can use me. That's an exaltation to me." Charlie said, "In this case, I have legal affairs in the future, so I dare not come to you." Paul hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, if you have any legal needs in the future, you can come to me and I must collect the money normally." Charlie nodded and smiled, "It's pretty much the same." After speaking, he looked at the time and said, "Paul, since there is nothing wrong with you, then I won't bother you today." Paul hurriedly said, "Master Wade, I would like to treat you to a meal tonight. I wonder if you have time." Charlie smiled and waved his hand and said, "I don't have to eat, there is still something waiting for me to do, I have to go." When Paul heard this, he immediately nodded and said, "Since Mr. Wade has something to do, then I will not keep you. I will send you out, please." Paul's simplicity made Charlie very appreciative of him. Most Chinese people prefer to be polite. If someone else wants to invite them to dinner, and if they shirk something, they will definitely continue to invite a few more enthusiastic invitations until they explicitly refuse it. Sometimes even if deep down in heart, they don't really want to invite the other party to dinner, they will treat each other politely. It's like a few people rushing to pay after dinner. Everyone is rushing to pay, but not everyone really wants to pay. It is very possible that everyone just wants to be polite, because if you are not polite, it seems that you are not sensible. Therefore, there are often people at the hotel bar asking who pays the bill, and you come and go all the time. Charlie saw many such people, but he admired Peel like Paul, who is witty, decisive, and straightforward. Since he has said something, he will absolutely stop talking nonsense, and send him away directly. This is the way of communication between smart people should take place. Afterwards, Paul took Charlie all the way out of the company and came to the elevator door. He took the initiative to press the elevator button for Charlie, and then an elevator came up from the first floor and stopped on this floor. As soon as the elevator stopped, Paul hurriedly made a please gesture. Just about to speak to Charlie, at this moment, the elevator door suddenly opened, and a super beauty with a glamorous and tall figure, wearing a small suit on the upper body and a skirt with a covered hip suddenly appeared in the elevator. The beauty is glamorous and moving, but at the same time there is no lack of glamorous look. It can be described as the best of the best, so that all men are excited. Paul looked at her in surprise and exclaimed, "Miss Song, why are you here?" The beauty was about to speak when she suddenly saw Charlie next to Paul. Her cold and pretty face suddenly seemed to be bathed in the spring breeze. With the cheerful smile of the little girl, she said in surprise, "Mr. Wade, why are you here?" Charlie looked up and found out that the person in the elevator turned out to be Warnia, the eldest of the Song family. She was also accompanied by several bodyguards, each holding a beautiful flower basket. Warnia didn't expect to meet her sweetheart Charlie here, and she was naturally very happy in her heart. Charlie felt a little surprised to see her here, and said with a smile, "I came here to help my friend take a look at his feng shui." After all, he thought that Paul had recognized Warnia just now, so he guessed that the two of them must know each other. Warnia smiled and said, "It seems that Mr. Wade, you also know Mr. Paul. I came here because my grandpa asked me to help him and gave Mr. Paul some flower baskets to congratulate him on the opening of his company." After speaking, she realized that she hadn't greeted Paul, so she said with some embarrassment, "Mr. Paul, it's been a long time." Paul is a smart man, and the most contacted suspects in his work as a lawyer, so he has a very strong ability to interpret people's eyes and expressions. FBI in the United States once offered a course on interpreting facial expressions. This is mainly to teach the case handlers how to use the subtle expressions and eye changes of the suspect to guess whether the other party is lying. This is a very high-end psychology category, but it is also a compulsory course for every judicial officer. Paul studied law in the United States for many years, and also became a lawyer, coupled with his childhood family edification, so that he has a unique talent in this area. Therefore, from Warnia's look at Charlie's expression and eyes, he could tell that Warnia liked Charlie. While admiring Charlie, he was able to attract such a stunning beauty as Warnia, and he couldn't help but sigh. It seems that Charlie is really extraordinary, and even the eldest lady of the Song family has a deep love for him. More importantly, Charlie is a married person. The Song family's eldest lady would actually like a married man. This is simply explosive news. At this time, the graceful Warnia walked out of the elevator. Although she came to give Paul a flower basket, her eyes were always on Charlie's body. Every time she saw Charlie, Warnia felt very happy, as if she had returned to the age when she was 18 years old. In fact, an eldest lady like her matured earlier than most people, got in touch with the human world earlier, and learned to put on a mask earlier. But after seeing Charlie, after falling in love with Charlie, Warnya's ability to put a mask on herself failed in front of him. She looked at Charlie with admiration and affection in her eyes, and she answered shyly, "Mr. Wade, how did you and Mr. Paul know each other?" "Mr. Paul should have just arrived in China not long ago." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "My father-in-law and Mr. Paul's mother are college classmates, so they met each other." Warnya was surprised and said, "Oh, how could it be such a coincidence?" Paul on the side smiled and said, "It's such a coincidence. I didn't expect that, Miss Song. You also know Mr. Wade." Warnya took a deep look at Charlie and said to Paul, "Mr. Wade can be regarded as my savior. Do you remember one time when our export goods arrived in the United States, they were immediately said to be unqualified, but they still want to sue us and make us bear huge compensation?" Paul immediately nodded and said, "Of course I remember that time you asked me to rush from the east coast of the United States to the west coast to help you resolve this dispute, but the problem was resolved before I reached the west coast." Warnya said with lingering fear, "I accidentally broke the feng shui at home that time. Not only did the business suffer, but I also had many problems with it. I even had frequent driving problems and accidents." With that, Warnya raised her wrist to reveal the bracelet her mother had left her, and said with emotion, "At that time, this bracelet was already lost. If it weren't for Mr. Wade, I wouldn't be able to find it back." Paul exclaimed, "It turns out that the great feng shui master you told me was Mr. Wade." Warnya nodded and said, "Yes, it's Mr. Wade." Paul's eyes looking at Charlie are already full of worship and admiration. He blurted out, "Mr. Wade, I really didn't expect that you are the feng shui master who has always been praised by Miss Song." Charlie smiled indifferently, waved his hand and said, "It's nothing more than a little bit of bugging skills, not worth mentioning." Paul hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, you are really too modest. If you hadn't pointed it out just now, my feng shui bureau might have a big problem." "I'm so grateful." Although Charlie was very humble, Paul didn't think so. He already had some respect for Charlie in his heart. Moreover, even the eldest lady of the Song family praised Charlie for being more natural, not to mention Charlie. At this moment, Charlie said, "I still have something to do, so let's talk about it first, and I will leave now." Warnya hurriedly asked, "Mr. Wade, where are you going? Do you have the car? If you aren't driving, I will see you off." Charlie smiled and said, "Don't you need to retell the past with Paul?" Warnya hurriedly said, "Paul and I are old acquaintances. From now on, he will develop in Oris Hill. We have time to relieve the past. If you don't drive today, please let me see you off." Seeing this, Paul knew that Warnya not only liked Charlie, but also put Charlie in a very, very important position in her heart. At this time, he said in a hurry, "Miss Song, thank you for the flower baskets you gave, and thank Mr. Song for helping me. If you have the opportunity, you will definitely come to visit me next time." Warnya glanced at Paul gratefully, and said to him, "That's fine, since you have something to do, then I won't bother you much, let's get together again. Paul is indeed very high in EQ, and also very high in IQ. He can see that Warnya's mind is all on Charlie, so he proposed to send Charlie to her. In that case, why not push the boat along the way and help her? So Warnya said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, I'll give it to you." Charlie nodded and said with a smile, "Well then, I will trouble you." Warnya smiled shyly, and said seriously, "Mr. Wade, don't be so polite with me." Warnya left her bodyguard to carry the flower baskets to Paul. She pressed the elevator, reached out to block the elevator door, and said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, please." Charlie nodded slightly, stepped into the elevator first, and Warnya followed in. The elevator door closed, and the faint and advanced fragrance of Warnya's body slowly penetrated Charlie's nostrils. Warnya's taste is very high, the perfume on her body is light and long. Not only makes people feel very comfortable and refreshing, but it also smells not vulgar, and even makes people obsessive and addictive. Standing with her, Charlie even had some contemplation in his heart. It is undeniable that Warnya is indeed very beautiful, with a very noble temperament, and more importantly, this woman is too gentle when she is in front of him, and she can't see the air of Missy. The two left the Gemdal building together, and Warnya personally opened the door of her Rolls-Royce and asked Charlie to sit in. After getting in the car, Warnya respectfully asked Charlie next to her, "Mr. Wade, where are you going? I will see you off." Charlie smiled slightly, "Then please take me back to Thompson Villa." Warnya asked in amazement, "Mr. Charlie, are you going to do errands? Why are you going home suddenly?" Charlie said with a smile, "The time to do something hasn't arrived yet, I'll go home and wait." Although Warnya was a little surprised, she nodded slightly and said, "Then I will take you back." As she said that, she plucked up courage again and asked expectantly, "Mr. Wade, when will you have time? I want to treat you to dinner." Charlie thought for a while and said, "Let's take 2 days. There have been a lot of things recently, especially today." He has already explained to Isaac very clearly that once he is ready to release Elaine, the detention center will specifically ask her to call him. At that time, he will go and pick Elaine back. The reason why he had to pick up Elaine himself was mainly because he wanted to see how miserable Elaine was now. This woman, who dared to steal 21.9 billion, would never be able to learn a lesson if she didn't suffer from it. 21.9 billion. If show mercy to her and she are not afraid of revealing identity, and he calls the police directly, Elaine will be sentenced to at least a suspended death sentence even if he doesn't shoot her for such a large amount of money involved. Let her go in and suffer for a few days and then let her out. It's already very cheap for her. After Elaine returned to the detention center from the police station for questioning, she has been waiting for the result with anxiety. She didn't know if the police would let herself go, so she could only pray in her heart. In the 2 days since entering the detention center, Elaine has suffered. She has never suffered the painful torture in her life. Now she feels that she is on the verge of collapse. If they not let her go out, she will really have to die here. Old Mrs. Wilson knew that Elaine was called to the police station for questioning in the morning, and she felt a little worried in her heart. She was afraid that Elaine would tell the police officers that she and Gina tortured and beat her. Moreover, she was also worried that Elaine would apply for a cell change with the police officer. If the police officer replaced her, wouldn't she lose the greatest pleasure? For so long, the Wilson family has suffered so many misfortunes and tribulations, that the old Mrs. Wilson's mood has been very low. It was not until Elaine and her were locked up in the same cell that she regained the joy of life. The thought that Elaine might have been in prison for more than 10 or 20 years, and that she would be able to go out after waiting for more than 10 days, the old Mrs. Wilson felt excited. Seeing Elaine curled up in the corner of the cell, the old Mrs. Wilson was very playful. She stepped up to Elaine and asked with a smile, "Oh, I heard you were called to the police station for questioning." Elaine looked at her, shivering. "Yes, Mother, I was called to ask about the situation." Old Mrs. Wilson asked coldly, "Then did you talk nonsense with the police? Did you not complain to them?" Elaine hurriedly waved her hand and said, "Don't worry, Mom, I didn't tell the police what happened in the cell. They came to me to ask about the case." Old Mrs. Wilson relaxed, snorted and asked her, "I said, Elaine, have you consulted with a lawyer? How many years are you going to be sentenced to in this situation? Is 10 years and 15 years enough?" Elaine shook her head repeatedly and muttered, "I haven't found a lawyer yet, so I don't know how long I will be sentenced." After returning, Elaine did not dare to say that she might be released soon. Because once they knew she was going to be let go, they would definitely do everything possible to torture themselves severely before they left. So Elaine decided to forbear, until the moment the police came to let him go. The old Mrs. Wilson sneered and said proudly, "I have heard others say that in your case, at least 15 years will be sentenced." The Lady Wilson said with a long sigh, but she said with excitement, "Oh, 15 years, Elaine, 15 days, I can't stand it for 15 years, how will you take it then?" "I will worry about you when I think about it." Elaine said nonchalantly, "I don't know Mom. When I thought that I might be locked up in it for more than 10 years, my heart was so cool." Gina stepped to Elaine at this time, and slapped her right and left, and then looked down at her, "Like you, a bankrupt woman who snatches someone else's husband, don't say you will be detained for more than 10 years, even if you are detained for a lifetime. It doesn't reduce the hate. Think about that Viking who was forced to the United States by you. Although I don't know her, I haven't even met her, but when I think of what you did to her, I want to do it for her." Bad breath. After that, she stretched out her hand to grab Elaine's hair, crackling her face several times. Elaine's mouth soon shed blood, and at the moment Gina stopped, she did not expect that the old Mrs. Wilson on the side was also waiting to teach her. Just as Gina stopped, the old Mrs. Wilson suddenly stretched out her hand, tightly grabbing Elaine's ear, and pulling desperately, making Elaine cry out in pain. Elaine grinned and asked, "Mom, why are you pulling my ears? Did I do something wrong, Mom?" Old Mrs. Wilson coldly snorted, "You still have the face to ask me, what did you do wrong? I tell you, as long as you are alive, as long as you can breathe, it is wrong. Your only correct choice is to die quickly. Don't waste air in this world." Elaine felt that her ears were about to be pulled off, and the pain was so painful, but she didn't dare to have the slightest sense of disobedience, so she could only swallow the bitterness into her stomach, thinking that if she persisted, she could just persist this out. After she goes out, this bad Lady Wilson will also be released in less than 10 days. At that time, this bad Lady Wilson has no place to live, no place to eat, no place to drink, or she will go to death on the street. There is a chance to find her revenge. Doesn't this bad Lady Wilson feel that she is going to be locked up in it for more than 10 years? She also wanted to take the letter written by her and go to live in her Thompson villa, which is simply a dream. She must have never imagined that it would be impossible for her to be detained here for more than 10 years, and she will be released soon. When the prison guards come to let her go, she believes this bad wife will be dumbfounded, and even very painful, very depressed, and very angry. Maybe it's possible to die here on the spot. The old Mrs. Wilson did not expect that Elaine might be released. She only felt that Elaine might stay in jail for the rest of her life. That's why she has always regarded the letter written by Elaine as a treasure, because with this letter in her hand, she can go to live in the big mansion of Thompson after only waiting for more than 10 days from now. OMG, Thompson, how dare I think about it before? After staying in the Thompson first class this time, she said nothing would be possible to move away, and she would die in a mansion like Thompson first class. She is more feudal and superstitious. She feels that only by dying in this kind of mansion can she devote herself to a wealthier family and enjoy a lifetime of prosperity. At this time, the guards in the detention center stepped over. Only then did Mrs. Wilson reluctantly let go of Elaine's ears. Just now, with all her strength, she pulled Elaine's ears so red and swollen, and there was even some tearing and bleeding at the base of the ears. Elaine's painful tears burst, but when she saw the prison guard, she was almost crazy with excitement. The prison guard is here, the prison guard is here to let her go. I am finally going to be free again. I can finally return to the big mansion of Thompson, have a full meal, and sleep peacefully. For more than 2 days, I didn't eat anything except licking 2 mouthfuls of porridge on the ground, I didn't sleep well, and I also had a fever. This feeling was simply too painful. So Elaine can't wait to leave here quickly, leave here forever. The prison guard strode to the cell, opened the door, and said, "It's time to let the wind out." Everyone lined up to the playground. Out for the air. Elaine's heart was extremely excited, and instantly fell to the bottom. Are the prison guards here to take everyone out? Isn't she ready to let her out? Haven't the police officers discussed whether they want to let her out? Although Elaine was desperate in her heart, at the detention center, she knew that she had to listen to the prison guard, so she hurriedly followed everyone out of the cell. When they arrived at the playground, the prison guard said, "First run 3 laps around the playground, and then freely move for half an hour. After half an hour, gather at the entrance of the playground and return to the cell." Everyone rushed to line up. Gina was the head of the cell, so she arranged the queue. She glanced at Elaine and said, "You stand in the front, everyone behind is staring at you, if you don't run well, I will blow your head." Then she turned her head to look at other people and said, "You can help the Lady Wilson run slowly, don't exhaust her." The old Mrs. Wilson smiled and said, "Gina, you are really interested. Although I am old, my body is not bad. I don't need anyone to support me. I just walk slowly behind you." Gina nodded, and then shouted, "Get ready, run." Elaine was at the forefront. Hearing this, she quickly endured the pain in her whole body and the weakness of not eating much for 2 days and nights, and started to run. Then everyone followed her. Elaine is very weak, and she was uncomfortable as if she was about to fall apart, so after 2 steps, her legs were soft, one staggered and almost fell. The woman behind her kicked her directly on the waist and cursed, "Sorry women who rob someone else's husband, who run crookedly every step of the way, what else can you do?" Another woman laughed and said, "This sorrowful woman can also grab someone else's husband. Although she can't run, she will run to someone else's bed." Everyone burst into laughter. Elaine could only endure the humiliation deep in her heart, gritted her teeth and ran forward. At this moment, Elaine saw 3 fierce women standing on the runway in the corner of the playground, staring in his direction as if looking at her. As soon as she ran past the 3 women, one of the women stretched out a hand and grabbed her shoulder. Elaine was caught, and the whole team stopped. Gina came up and asked, "What are the 3 of you doing?" "These 3 women are fierce and vicious." The person who just stretched out her hand to hold Elaine had a scar on her face from the corner of her left eye to her right chin. This scar split her face in half. Looks extremely scary. Although Gina is the king and has total hegemony in her cell, in the final analysis she is nothing more than an ordinary peasant woman. Let her beat Elaine, she dares to beat, but she must not dare to let her attack someone with a knife. So when she saw that there was a scar on the other's face, she knew that this woman was absolutely extraordinary, she was an existence she couldn't afford. The scar woman said, "I'm looking for a person named Elaine. Is it your cell? Which one is her?" When Elaine heard that she was looking for her, she was frightened and distraught, waved her hands again and again. "I don't know, I have never heard of a person called Elaine." The old Mrs. Wilson pointed to Elaine, and said, "Don't listen to this shameless woman being talking nonsense here, she is Elaine." Wendy also said, "Yes, it is her. She is Elaine. She is still a scammer." The scar woman turned her head to look at Elaine, and slapped Elaine's face severely. At first glance, this scar woman had practiced, and she had muscles all over her body, so her slap was much stronger than Gina's and others. This slapped Elaine directly to the ground. Elaine was directly slapped by the slap, and fell to the ground with a bang, and then spit out a posterior molar, which was really miserable. Everyone felt timid when they saw the scar woman being so cruel, but the old Mrs. Wilson was very happy. Anyway, as long as she saw Elaine being beaten, she felt very happy. Wendy also felt that this was really hateful. After seeing Elaine suffered so many beatings, she didn't have the energy to slap her. A slap directly knocked her to the ground. This is the power that ordinary people can't have. Elaine was scared to death. Being beaten is not a big problem for her, because she has not been beaten less in the past 2 days, and she has already practiced. But the key is that she doesn't know why this scar woman hit her. Is she a member of that transnational fraud group, came to ask herself to settle accounts? Just when Elaine was terrified, Gina said to the scared woman with a face, "Eldest sister, we are not familiar with this woman. If you want to beat her, you can beat her. It doesn't matter if you kill her, but we still have to run. Do you think we can keep running?" The scar woman snorted coldly and said, "I don't care if anyone waits, get out of me." Otherwise, don't blame me for being polite." Gina hurriedly waved and shouted, "Sisters, come and run with me, 121, 121. People in the same cell hurriedly followed her and yelled chants. People in the 20s yelled 121 and hurried away. Only the three women and Elaine remained at the scene. Elaine was so frightened that she blurted out and asked, "Sister, where did I provoke you? At least tell me." Scar woman kicked Elaine's belly, and she was clutching her belly and wailing on the ground. Then, she took out a black bank card from her pocket and asked, "Elaine, you look up, do you recognize this card?" As soon as Elaine looked up, her heart was shocked. This card is so special, how could she not recognize it? It is exactly the same as the card stolen from Charlie. These three people are indeed from the fraud gang? In the morning, didn't the police still tell her that they didn't find a clue? Why are three accomplices caught now? These three women even knew that they were 80% here to settle their accounts, and it is possible that they caused them to go to jail. It's over now, they won't get angry and kill her? He was obviously going to be released soon. Wouldn't it be too miserable if someone killed him at this time? "So," she said with tears and nose bleeding, "I really don't recognize this bank card. Did you recognize the wrong person? Admit it. Are you kidding me?" The Scar woman grabbed Elaine's hair, slapped her face with a slap, and said, "Do you know why the three of us came in? It's because of you, a woman, attracted the police and killed the three of us. Being arrested, let me tell you, the three of us are likely to be sentenced to life imprisonment, and this is all you're doing." Elaine cried out, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I am also a victim, I don't know that there are so many things behind that card." Scar woman looked at her and shouted angrily at the two people around her, "Give me a hard hit," and beat her half to death. Anyway, she will be locked in for more than 10 or 20 years, and we will do it every day. Beat her twice to relieve our anger. When will she be killed, and then will it be finished?" When the other two women heard this, they rushed forward, and the three of them punched and kicked Elaine together. The fists and big feet greeted Elaine frantically, as if she didn't want money, and Elaine kept calling out. In fact, these three people were sent by Isaac to teach Elaine, in order to convince Elaine that she was in great trouble. In this way, after she was released, she wouldn't dare to fall out with Charlie. At this time, Elaine was beaten and rolled back and forth on the ground, screaming and begging for mercy endlessly. The others were still running, but when they heard this scream, they stopped and observed at them from a distance, all in shock. Although Gina also beat Elaine, she was not as cruel as the three of them. It was almost as if beaten to death. It can be seen that these three people must not be ordinary people. "Oh, it's so miserable, so miserable." Gina couldn't help sighing, "This Elaine, it's really a thumping woman, I sympathize with her a little bit," and the old Mrs. Wilson saw that Elaine was beaten so badly, she immediately laughed on the side, and laughed loudly, "It's great, beat this shrew to death, beat her so hard that she can't speak with her broken mouth." Wendy also clapped vigorously and smiled, "Hit! Hit it hard! Pump her face! Smash her broken face!" At this time, the Scar woman saw that Elaine was almost beaten, and then she said, "Okay, leave this dog, or if she is killed now, who will be beaten for the next 20 years? Why are you venting?" The two stopped now. Elaine's nose and face were swollen, and she fell to the ground and kept screaming, feeling that she had only one breath left. Scar Woman walked up to her and said coldly, "I tell you, your good days are still early, this is the end of your low hands. Wait, I will let you not survive, but you cannot die." Elaine burst into tears with fright. The suffering that Charlie's premium card brought to her was even more tragic than the 99981 difficulties that Thompson Sang took from the scriptures. From the time she stole that card to the present, besides being beaten, nothing else has happened. She was hungry after she was beaten, she was frozen when she was hungry, she was poured with cold water, and poured in cold water when she was completely frozen, and slept in the toilet. This is simply a scene of human tragedy. When the Scar Woman saw Elaine lying on the ground and crying, she kicked her and snorted coldly, cry again, and I will break your teeth." Elaine closed her mouth immediately. She didn't dare to make a half word or a little sound. She had already lost 2 front teeth and 1 posterior molar. At this time, if her mouth was broken again, she would have to spend the rest of her life. How to live? Seeing that she didn't dare to make any more noises, the Scar Woman sneered, "Okay, get out of here." Elaine was relieved. Although the beaten couldn't stand up, she still clung to the distance with her hands, trying to stay away from the 3 women. After Elaine was beaten, the 3 women also turned and left. At this moment, 2 prison guards suddenly appeared, greeted Gina to come, and drove Elaine back to the cell. Although Gina hates Elaine very much, seeing Elaine being beaten like this, she also has a hint of compassion in her heart. As a result, she was physically strong, she helped her up and led her to the cell. Others followed behind, each with their own thoughts. Some people sympathized with her, some watched a good show, and some had lingering fears. When Elaine was dragged back to the cell, Charlie received a call from Isaac at home. On the phone, Isaac said, "Mr. Wade, I have sent someone to teach Elaine. I believe that after she comes out, she will definitely not dare to say one more word to you." Charlie said lightly, "Well, you did a good job." Isaac said, "Mr. Wade, please forgive me. I think that your mother-in-law has done too much. She stole so much money from you. In fact, it is better to hand her over to the law. At least give her a suspended death sentence. Why bother by releasing her?" Charlie gave a wry smile, "You don't understand, my mother-in-law is a ticket." Isaac hurriedly asked, "Tickets? Mr. Wade, what do you mean by this?" Charlie couldn't tell him directly that his mother-in-law Elaine was actually his ticket to the wife's bed, so he said indifferently, "Okay, don't ask so much, go make arrangements, it's almost time to let her go." "Okay." Isaac nodded immediately, "I'll make arrangements." At this moment, Elaine was lying on her little bed, howling. This was the reason why she came to the guard, and was able to lie down on the bed for the first time. Thanks to Gina's pity for her, she felt it was too miserable for her to be beaten by thousands of people, so after taking her back, she put her directly on her bed. The old Mrs. Wilson walked into the room at this time, looked at Elaine on the bed, and said with a sneer, "Oh Elaine, you have offended so many people, why would anyone want to beat you twice? I see you the days from now on are really hard to get through." Elaine was about to collapse at this time. She even wondered, are the policemen not going to let her go out? If that is the case, then she will be too miserable in the future. To be beaten in the cell, and beaten out of the cell, how many beatings does she have to get on this day? Wendy also echoed, Grandma, I think this Peach woman may not live for more than 10 or 20 years. According to this style of play, it is estimated that in 2 or 3 months, she will have to be beaten to death. Old Mrs. Wilson laughed and said, Oh, she deserves it, she really deserves it. After finishing speaking, she sat in front of Elaine, looked at her with a swollen nose and lips, and said excitedly, Ha ha, Elaine, you probably never dreamed that you would have today? It's fine now, you will be here in the future. Suffer well in this prison. After a few days of going out with Wendy, we will go to Thompson to enjoy the good fortune. Elaine was aggrieved and said, Even if you are going to live in the Thompson first class, there is no need to curse me to death, right? I am also the daughter-in-law of the Wilson family, the wife of your son, and the mother of your granddaughter. How can you be so cruel? The old Mrs. Wilson sneered, Of course I am cruel to you. Besides, I have never regarded you as the daughter-in-law of my Wilson family. How do you deserve to be the daughter-in-law of our Wilson family? After the first rank of the minister, let my son change to a new daughter-in-law. When the time comes, our family will be happy, it is really family happiness. You just wait for moldy and smelly in this prison. When Elaine heard this, she was almost furious. How? Do you want Jacob to change his wife? Enjoy family happiness with you? Your bad old woman is just a pipe dream. You wait. I will definitely go out. At that time, let's see how I turn to see you jokes. Elaine was thinking fiercely in her heart, when the prison guard suddenly opened the door and said, Elaine, you have been released, come out with me to pack your things and go through the formalities so that your family can pick you up. The words made the whole cell stunned. Old Mrs. Wilson and Wendy couldn't believe their ears. Why? Didn't Elaine committed fraud? Doesn't it mean that she will be imprisoned for at least 10 years, 20 years, or even longer? Why let her go now? Now let her go, how can she live in Thompson after going out in 10 days? The old Mrs. Wilson panicked. At this moment, when Elaine, who had been seen half dead, immediately jumped out of bed with excitement when she heard this. The pain of being beaten up just now was completely incomprehensible, as if being driven out of the sky by this sentence at this moment. Thankfully, she can finally go out. Elaine excitedly danced and cheered, Ha ha, great, Lady Wilson is finally going to let go, ha ha ha, great, great, really great, I am going back to live in my Thompson villa. After finishing speaking, she immediately looked at Mrs. Wilson and cursed coldly, Ha ha ha, bad Lady Wilson, you never dreamed that I would not be released, ha ha ha. And Wendy, you too poor, just stay in jail. Cherish your days in jail. Once you are released, you will not even have a place to live. You will have to fall to the streets. Just like you two are so poor, you still want to live in the first grade of Thompson, yet, after they let you go and open your ancestral grave. See who of your 8th generation ancestors is worthy of the first grade of Thompson? Let alone you two paupers. Old Mrs. Wilson was trembling with anger, and at this moment, she wished to tear Elaine alive. She even regretted not encouraging Gina to kill Elaine directly. Now this peesh woman is about to be released suddenly, this is nothing short of eyes. Wendy scolded angrily, "You shrew, don't be too happy too early, maybe the court is about to hear you, and you will be sentenced to life imprisonment after you are tried. Don't even want to go out in this life." Elaine suddenly cursed and shouted, "I have already washed away the grievances, I will be released, I will regain the freedom, you homeless people, please hurry up." After finishing speaking, Elaine looked at Gina again and gritted her teeth and cursed, "Gina, an ugly fat pig from the countryside, dare to beat me and let me kneel on the ground to lick the porridge. I tell you, you will wait for me. Now, when you get out, I will find someone to kill you, aren't you the most filial one? Wait, when I find out where your mother is buried, I will take your mother's grave away and lay her ashes fly." Gina was trembling with anger, and was about to fight her desperately on the spot. Just about to start, she heard the prison guard yell from behind, "Elaine, are you going to leave?" Elaine hurriedly said, "I am coming, I don't want to stay here for a minute." The prison guard said in a cold voice, "Then hurry up and pack things." Because the prison guards were there, the others wanted to beat Elaine, but they didn't dare to do it, they could only hate it. Gina hates her the most because she hates her mother who is abused by others. This Elaine dares to say that she is going to spread her mother's ashes. It's a crime. Elaine was completely confident at this time. While packing her own things, she said coldly to the people around, "By the way, there are a few of you who have beaten me, don't even want to run. I tell you, I am here. The outside forces are very powerful. Starting today, I will wait for you when I go out. I will fight one by one, and let you pay for bullying me again." Elaine counted them down one by one, turning the expressions of everyone in the cell blue and angry. After scolding these people, Elaine could be regarded as letting out a sigh of relief. At this time, she had finished packing her things, and was about to leave with the prison guard, when she suddenly felt a urge to pee. She muttered to herself, "Why do I have urine at this time?" As she said, she whispered again, "No. This cell is too bad, and the urine taken from here must also be particularly bad, and I must leave after the spread." Thinking of this, she sneered at Mrs. Wilson and Gina, and said contemptuously, "I happen to have a pee, so I will leave it to you guys." After speaking, Elaine hummed a song, twisted her waist, and walked into the toilet. Outside, a group of people were silent, and Elaine gasped for breath. Old Mrs. Wilson clutched her chest, she looked like she was mad, and she said, "I'm so angry, I'm really angry. It must be my unfilial son who came to bail her." Gina asked in an interface, "Your son bailed her? This is not what he is." The old Mrs. Wilson cried and said, "My son is also a useless man. He was taken care of by this shrew. They just don't want me to live. They just tried every means to toss me away." After that, Mrs. Wilson deliberately instigated her and said to Gina, "Gina, this woman is very vicious. She said she wants to pick up your mother's grave. I think she will definitely do something like this. She has to be sorry." When Gina heard this, she immediately felt a puff of blood rushing to the top of her head, making her tremble all over. She gritted her teeth, stood up directly, and immediately rushed into the toilet. This is her last chance to teach Elaine. If she doesn't seize it, then this peach will really leave. When the old Mrs. Wilson saw her rushing into the bathroom furiously, she immediately followed in tremblingly. Wendy, and several others who were scolded by Elaine, also immediately followed. When Elaine was about to relieve her hand, she suddenly heard the toilet door slammed and kicked open. Then, facing Gina's big foot, she kicked her and sat down in the toilet. Her legs stuck on the edge of the urinal, painful, and she couldn't stand up after getting stuck. When Gina thought that Elaine was going to pick up her mother's grave and also lift up her mother's ashes, Gina grinned with hatred, and said to others, "Beat her hard. Kill her. Let her be a stinky girl. She pretend to be forced." A group of people immediately hit Elaine on the head and body. Elaine was caught off guard, yelling and raising her hands, trying to block the opponent's fists and feet, but it was in vain. At this time, Wendy's eyes flashed with cold light. She had long wanted to beat Elaine, but she had never had a chance. Seeing that everyone in front was greeting Elaine's upper body, and Elaine was tall with 2 legs up, Wendy immediately stepped forward, held Elaine on one leg, and winked at the old Mrs. Wilson, saying, "Grandma, let's just smash this peach's leg to her. Otherwise, there will be no chance again." "Okay." Old Mrs. Wilson nodded with gritted teeth. The old Mrs. Wilson saw that her dream of living in Thompson's first-tier future was broken again, and she hated Elaine to death. Moreover, Elaine dared to be so arrogant in front of her just now, and spoke so excessively, which made the Lady Wilson feel resentful. For Mrs. Wilson, the last thing she wants to see is Elaine's escape from the sea of suffering, but now Elaine is going to be let go? If Elaine is released, then this is the last chance to teach her. Once missed, there may be no chance in the future. So the Lady Wilson, regardless of her old age and health, raised her leg and slammed her foot on Elaine's knee. With a click, Elaine suddenly let out a terrible scream. She felt severe pain in her leg. It must be a broken leg. Old Mrs. Wilson succeeded in one blow and was excited, but she did not expect that her body movements were too great, and one of them couldn't stand firmly and slipped to the ground. This fall directly hit her tailbone, and the pain caused her to scream, "Oh, oh!" But Elaine was obviously more miserable. Seeing her right knee, she folded an arc in the opposite direction, and her pain was so painful that she could only scream incessantly, "Ah, my leg! I have broken my leg!" The prison guard heard the movement inside and shouted outside, "What's the matter? What are you doing inside?" When everyone heard this, they hurriedly stopped and stood aside. Gina took a look, and then smiled deliberately, "Ken, this peach is dripping badly. She is about to go out. She wants to kick the Lady Wilson. She didn't expect to break her leg. She deserves it." After speaking, she hurriedly helped the old Mrs. Wilson and went out of the toilet. Elaine cried loudly, "Guard, come and save me, my leg is broken." The prison guard had already arrived at the door of the toilet. As soon as he came in, she saw Elaine's tragic situation, frowned and asked everyone, "What are you doing?" Gina stood up and said, "I don't know. Just now the Lady Wilson came in to go to the bathroom. She tried to kick old lady, but she slipped and fell like this." Old Mrs. Wilson also endured the pain, and said, "This stupid kicked me, and my tail vertebra is broken. It hurts me to death." Elaine cried loudly, "You hit me and broke my leg." Gina sneered and said, "Do you have any evidence? We, more than 20 people, have seen you kicking the Lady Wilson. You still want to make a sophistry?" Elaine pointed at the crowd and cried out, "You were the one who beat me. You collectively broke my leg." The prison guard frowned. "It is impossible for a normal person to go to the toilet for no reason and her leg broke. So Elaine broke her leg. It was obviously beaten by these people in the cell. But if one person does it alone, she can still handle it, and if all of them do it, there is really no way at all. Firstly, it is impossible for all members to deal with it. Secondly, it may be very troublesome to ask these people to confess who is fighting. It requires constant isolation and brings these people out one by one for interrogation." Thinking of this, she began to speak, after doing Elaine, "If you continue to make trouble like this, you won't be able to leave today. If you want to investigate and deal with it again, you will have to wait a long time at least." Elaine cried and said, "Then you can't let them break my leg in vain, right?" The prison guard said indifferently, "If you want to report them, I'll go through the normal process and let the police come for interrogation. But in that case, you may also need to go to the police station. You have to record your confession, and I have to say something. To be honest, you are alone, they are more than 20 people, they may not admit what you say. If they bite you back then and insist that you hurt the Lady Wilson, then you are shooting yourself in the foot." When Elaine heard this, she suddenly became desperate. She also knows that these female prisoners are not good people, and they are very united under Gina's leadership, not to mention that she has provoked public anger. If she makes this matter to the police, it is very likely that they will turn out to be them bite her together. In that case, it would be more troublesome for her. It's better to go out as soon as possible. The sooner she goes out, the better. Thinking of this, Elaine nodded angrily, and said, "I want to go out, I want to go out now." The guard nodded, helped Elaine walked out of the bathroom, and then led her out of the cell. The moment she left the cell, Elaine turned back and said to the old Mrs. Wilson, "Dead lady, wait for me. Sooner or later, I will break both of your legs." Old Mrs. Wilson said coldly, "You bish, you won't die sooner or later." Elaine ignored the Lady Wilson and looked at Gina again, and said sharply, "Gina, you dog and woman, wait for me. Your mother's grave will definitely not be kept." Gina yelled angrily, "Dare you, I must kill you." Elaine limped out with the support of the prison guards, turning around and cursing, "Look at me, dare you, wait. When you come out, take a look at your mother's grave and see you. Has Mom's ashes been raised by me?" After speaking, without looking back, she followed the prison guard out of the cell in the detention center. Elaine came to the office area of the detention center, and the prison guards led her into an office. There were already 2 police officers sitting in this office, the 2 who were in charge of her case. When the 2 police officers saw her being supported by the prison guards, they jumped in, and they were suddenly dumbfounded. The guard said to the 2 of them, "She had a conflict with a cellmate in the same cell just now in the bathroom, and her leg is hurt." Elaine said angrily, "Is it hurt?" My leg is broken, okay, haven't you seen it? The prison guard asked in a cold voice. What I told you just now, you are all deaf to your ears, right? Do you want to call everyone out now, and then transfer you to the Public Security Bureau for a good trial? I'll tell you, don't judge you. For 3 to 5 days, don't even think of it. One of the police officers said, Elaine, you can go home now and it's very good. As for the injury on your leg, you can wait until you go out and go to the hospital for treatment. You can keep it for 3 to 5 months. Elaine nodded angrily and asked, Comrade police officer, when can I be released? The police officer said, Did you remember everything we told you before? Elaine hurriedly said, Don't worry, I remember it clearly, and I won't say a word to anyone after I go out and kill me. When Elaine was let out in the afternoon, she was beaten and threatened by the 3 fierce women. She was so frightened that she was deeply aware of the huge danger behind this incident. So now she can't hide. How can she dare to mention it again? The police officer was satisfied, and returned Elaine's cell phone to her and said, Okay, you will call your son-in-law now and let him pick you up. After Elaine picked up her mobile phone, she couldn't wait to turn it on. Since calling in, she has never been able to touch her phone again, nor can she contact her husband and daughter. Suddenly taking back the phone, Elaine suddenly felt a strong grievance. Husband and daughter certainly didn't know that she had suffered so much inhuman torture in the past 2 days. But this kind of thing, she just can't tell them. Because once she uttered a word, she might be murdered, or she might be caught by the police again and put in jail. After the phone was turned on, Elaine could receive countless messages on WeChat. She clicked on it and found that basically every message came from her daughter Claire. Seeing that her daughter was always worried about herself and kept sending her various messages, Elaine felt very comforted. But she couldn't help but think of another thing. Why didn't husband send a WeChat? She has been missing for 2 days, is he not worried at all? Thinking of this, Elaine was quite dissatisfied, and she couldn't help but wonder, I didn't expect Jacob, an old thing, to be so affectionate, that I had been missing for so long. He didn't even have a WeChat. Be sure to settle accounts with him afterwards. At this time, the police officer said, Don't play WeChat there anymore. Call your son-in-law quickly. Elaine hurriedly asked, Comrade Constable, can I stop my son-in-law from picking me up? I am so annoyed to die when I think of this man. I hate him to my teeth. Can I let my daughter pick me up? The police officer slapped the table and shouted coldly, The reason why we let you find your son-in-law to pick you up is because we want to confirm whether the criminals are looking at your son-in-law now. Otherwise, if we rashly put you back, you are very likely to be targeted by others. Maybe you will be killed tonight. In that case, don't blame me for not reminding you. As soon as Elaine heard this, her liver trembled with fright, and she hurriedly said, That's fine, I'll call my son-in-law now. Comrade Police, please make sure to see if the criminals are looking at him. The police officer nodded and said coldly, Don't worry, as long as you do as we say, we will naturally investigate. Elaine breathed a sigh of relief and said, Then I'll call him now. The police officer asked her again, Do you know how to tell him? No. Elaine forced the pain in her leg and said honestly, I tell him that I was cheated by a MLM organization, and then I was caught by the police. Now I am relieved of my grievances and can finally go home." The policeman hummed, waved his hand and said, "Okay, let's call now." At this moment, Charlie was waiting for Elaine's call at home. Suddenly the phone on the table rang. He hurriedly picked up the phone and realized that it was indeed his mother-in-law who was calling, so he pressed the answer button. "Mom! Where are you? We are going crazy looking for you these past 2 days." Charlie started acting as soon as he spoke. Elaine hated him crazy in her heart, but she couldn't say it directly, so she could only say in a cold voice, "I'm in the city detention center right now, please drive to pick me up." Charlie said, "Mom, the car at home has been driven away, I'll take a taxi to pick you up." Elaine asked angrily, "Are both cars driven away?" Charlie gave a hum and said, "Claire has gone to the company, and Dad has gone to the party." "Party?" Elaine asked, "That Jacob is still in the mood to party? Whom did he go to party with?" Charlie said, "Talk to some old classmates. I'm not very clear about the details. Should I call him?" Elaine said angrily, "You come to pick me up first. I am injured now and must go to the hospital." Charlie asked, "Mom, what hurt you? Is it serious?" Elaine said angrily, "My leg is broken." "You are so much nonsense, get out here." Charlie said, "Okay, then I will pass now." After hanging up the phone, Charlie immediately went out, stopped a taxi, and went to Oris Hill Detention Center. On the way to the detention center, he called Claire and said to her, "Wife, Mom called me, and I'm going to pick her up now." When Claire heard this, she blurted out excitedly and asked, "Really? Did Mom call you? Where is she? Is she okay?" Charlie said, "Mom said she was in the Oris Hill Detention Center. As for the reason, I asked her. She said that she was deceived into a pyramid scheme 2 days ago and was arrested by the police again, so she was locked in. She is released after being free of suspicion." Claire suddenly realized. She suspected that her mother was cheated away by pyramid schemes, but she didn't expect her to be caught by the police. It seems that after Mom comes home, she must tell her well, and never trust people outside who can make her rich overnight. Thinking of this, she hurriedly said, "Then I will come over now, we will see her in the detention center." Charlie hurriedly said, "My wife, don't come here. Mom told me on the phone that she was injured. After I picked her up, I would take her to the hospital immediately. Then we can see you at the hospital." Claire asked nervously, "What's the matter? Where did Mom get hurt? Is it serious?" Charlie said, "Mom said on the phone that her leg was broken, but I don't know whether it's serious or not. We have to see the doctor to find out." Claire burst into tears all of a sudden, and said, "Then you will come directly to the emergency department of the People's Hospital after picking up Mother." "I will go there now." When Charlie came to the detention center and saw Elaine, Elaine was already tortured. She had a bruised nose and swollen face, her body was wounded, her front teeth had lost 2, and her hair was ripped apart and some of her scalp had been exposed. And Elaine came in for the past 2 days, almost as if she didn't eat or drink, so the whole person has 2 avatars, originally quite rich, now it is a bit horrible. What's worse is Elaine's right leg, which has broken from the knee at this time, and can only hang at this strange angle. It seems that she has been tortured quite miserably. Charlie asked in surprise, "Mom, what's wrong with you? Why do you suffer so many injuries? You want to take care of it." Elaine gritted her teeth and said, "Hurry up and take me to the hospital." Charlie shrugged and said, "Okay, the taxi is waiting outside. I'll take you to the hospital." The police officer looked at Elaine and said coldly, "Elaine, what did we tell you just now? If you still have this attitude, then don't go out and just stay inside." As soon as Elaine heard this, she was so frightened that she blurted out to Charlie, "Oh my good son-in-law, it was all bad for Mom just now." "Mom shouldn't yell at you," the police officer observed at Elaine and warned, "Don't forget what I told you. We are only letting you out temporarily, but we will always observe you, understand?" Seeing Charlie, Elaine's heart was full of hatred. Although she had believed the police's statement, she believed that Charlie was also a tool in the eyes of those transnational criminals, instead of keeping a fake bank card deliberately. However, all of her disasters started from his card after all. If it weren't for his card, she wouldn't suffer these grievances, so she naturally regarded Charlie as the biggest culprit. Because of this, she saw Charlie now. Naturally it was impossible to show him any good expressions. But suddenly she was yelled at by the police officer, which shocked her. The thought that she might be observed at by the police all the time in the future, Elaine felt very uncomfortable. But she has nothing to do, who gets involved in such a huge vortex? As a result, she could only hold back the hatred deep in her heart towards Charlie and calm down. Seeing that she was honest, the police officer said to Charlie, "You are her son-in-law, right?" Charlie nodded and said, "I am." The police officer simply said, "Okay, then you come over and sign a document with me to prove that you have taken the person away." Charlie followed the police officer to sign a document, and then asked him, "Can I go now?" Then he nodded and said, "Okay, you can go." So Charlie said to his mother-in-law, "Mom, let's go, I'll take you to the hospital." Elaine gritted her teeth angrily, but didn't dare to say anything cruel, so she could only act in front of the police officer and said, "Oh, my good son-in-law, you give me a hand, otherwise my leg can't move." Charlie walked to her, resisted the stench on her body, and helped her up. Elaine's right leg was very painful, and it hurt her heart with a slight movement, but now Elaine is no longer the previous Elaine. The previous Elaine has not suffered any losses, suffered no crimes, and never suffered. She has been bullied by the flesh, but now Elaine, after 2 days of intensive beatings, already has a fairly strong tolerance. In her opinion, the pain of a broken leg was nothing short of a drizzle compared to the pain and torture in the detention center. She couldn't help but think of Zheng Zhihua's song. He said that this pain in the wind and rain is nothing. As long as she can get rid of the nightmare of the detention center, even if she break 2 legs, as long as she can go out, it is worth it. Charlie helped his mother-in-law out of the detention center. An old Jetta taxi at the door had been waiting here. It was the taxi he had taken when he came. So he said to Elaine, "Mom, let's get in the car." Elaine was extremely depressed when she saw this broken taxi. She has suffered so many crimes and finally came out. She must leave in a good car to say the least, right? No matter what, he must have drove husband's BMW 530 over. The results of it? BMW didn't see it, and even now she will have Ace to sit in a broken rental. Elaine was extremely angry, wanting to scold Jacob, and even more to scold Charlie. But the most uncomfortable thing was that although she was very angry in her heart, she couldn't go crazy with Charlie. She didn't dare to go crazy with Charlie because of the bank card, nor could she go crazy with Charlie because of the taxi. She can only hold the anger in her heart, and her discomfort is almost exploding. Afterwards, Elaine was depressed and got into the dilapidated taxi with Charlie's support. After getting on, Charlie said to the taxi driver, "Master, go to the emergency department of the People's Hospital." The driver hurriedly drove taxi to the People's Hospital. Sitting in the co-pilot, Charlie said to Elaine, "Mom, I have already called Claire. She has already rushed to the People's Hospital." Elaine snorted bitterly, then turned her face out of the window angrily, and said in a strange way, "It's really useless to have a son-in-law like you, you will only cause me trouble." Charlie deliberately asked, "Mom, what do you mean by this? When did I cause you trouble again?" Elaine glared at him through the rear-view mirror, and said coldly, "Don't ask. Think about it for yourself, I won't say anything if you ask." Elaine has been warned by the police many times, and now she doesn't dare to be mad at Charlie directly, and can only use this obscure way to get angry. Charlie naturally knew what he thought of this wonderful mother-in-law, so he deliberately said, "Excuse me, I really can't think of what trouble I caused you." Elaine's chest was up and down with anger, and the words that yelled at Charlie several times had reached her lips, but in the end she could only endure it. The feeling was like a throat hook. So she could not think about it for a while, forced herself to bring the topic to Jacob, and asked, "Who did your dad have a party with? When did he go?" Charlie said, "He went in the morning, but I don't know who is there, because I didn't ask him." Charlie knew very well that if his mother-in-law knew that his father-in-law had gone to a party with his first love and the classmates, she would be so angry that the taxi would be smashed. So he simply pretended to be stupid and asked her to ask the old master directly at that time, but he didn't want to wade in the muddy water between the two of them. Elaine was very angry and cursed, "Didn't they just get together some time ago? Why did they get together again? It seems that during the 2 days I was in the detention center, his life is very chic." After speaking, Elaine immediately took out her mobile phone and called Jacob. At this moment, Jacob was in the Brilliant Club, having fun with Miking and a group of old classmates. And Jacob himself was in a good mood, because no one of his old classmates, including Xia Wenru, dared to mock him anymore. Looking at Charlie's face, boy who personally served Jacob and his classmates. This face is really rare in Oris Hill. So the old classmates of Jacob couldn't help but admire him. Everyone had a hearty lunch in the clubhouse, because everyone was still in the mood, so Miking asked for a box in the Brilliant Clubhouse, and everyone started singing. The KTV environment of the Brilliant Clubhouse can be said to be the best in the whole Oris Hill. Dozens of old classmates are not crowded in it. On the contrary, it is very spacious. The decoration inside is naturally luxurious and the facilities are advanced and comfortable. But the only bad thing is that there are too many people at the party. Everyone clicks a lot of songs at once, so it takes a long time to sing in line. Jacob specifically ordered a song by his beloved, and finally waited for his own song for more than half an hour, so he picked up the microphone, and then handed the other microphone to Miking, and said diligently, "Miking, let's sing the song together. My Confidant Lover is originally a duet love song, and in the eyes of the older generation, this song is still very famous. Moreover, the two singers who sang this song are also a couple in real life, so they add a bit of sweetness to this song." When the old classmates watched Jacob click this song, and even specially invited Miking to sing with him, they couldn't help but scream. Someone said, "Oh, Jacob, you deliberately clicked on such a song and invited our beautiful lady to sing it together. What is your intention?" Others said, "Hey, don't you understand his thoughts? It must be his heart that everyone knows." Some people even flattered Jacob and said, "Oh, Jacob and Miking should have been a couple. They haven't seen each other for more than 20 years. Singing such a song together is really just right." Jacob was completely overwhelmed with joy when he heard this. At this moment, he had no idea that his nightmare was about to come. Although Miking blushed a little at this time, she accepted the microphone openly and smiled and said, "Don't get me wrong, don't you just sing a song together? If someone else is willing to sing with me, neither will I opine." Xie Wenru felt a little upset in his heart. He felt that Jacob was also a married person. How could he openly invite the goddess to sing this kind of love song? But when he thought that Jacob's son-in-law could make Boyu take it so seriously, he swallowed it again when it reached his lips. Jacob always had an excited smile on his face, and couldn't help but secretly look at Miking. His heart was already surging. Miking accidentally caught a glimpse of Jacob. Seeing his unconcealed obsession with herself in his eyes, she couldn't help but blush. At this time, the prelude to the song has started. Miking took the microphone and observed at the screen intently. Just after the prelude, Miking took the lead in singing the female part. "Let my love be with you forever, do you feel that? I am worried for you." Miking's singing voice is very nice, and to these old men, it is like the sound of nature, making them intoxicated. Jacob even got goosebumps all over his body. He felt that even if Miking's voice was compared with that of a professional singer, it was not so much. The students were also thunderous with applause. Miking had finished singing her female part at this time, and then it was time for Jacob to sing his part. Just as Jacob picked up the microphone and prepared to sing affectionately, his mobile phone on the KTV coffee table suddenly shook. He looked down subconsciously, and was shocked by the words on the phone screen. The person's name displayed on the phone is wife. What? Jacob's mood collapsed instantly. Elaine has been missing for 2 days and 2 nights, but the phone has been turned off and cannot get through. Why is she calling him now? Could it be? Is this dominatrix back? In the next second, Jacob affirmed his guess in his heart. Elaine's mobile phone was said to have been turned off for the first 2 days, and now she called him suddenly. That means she must have been back. Jacob was suddenly panicked. Elaine is back, what can I do? Isn't my good life coming to an end? At this time, the phone is still shaking on the desktop, and the part that he should sing is already gone. The classmates booed for a while and said, "Jacob, are you too nervous to sing with miking? You don't know if it's your turn to sing. Miking couldn't help asking, Jacob, why don't you sing your part? Jacob wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and looked at the phone again. He knew that with Elaine's personality, if he didn't answer her phone, she would definitely be mad. So he said in a panic, sorry, I'll answer the phone first, and come back to sing again later. After speaking, he hurriedly picked up the phone and quickly got out of the box. When Xie Wenru saw this, she immediately picked up the microphone he left behind and said with a smile, come miking, I will sing with you. Jacob took his mobile phone out of the box, and then hurriedly pressed the answer button. As soon as the call was connected, Elaine's iconic roar came over, Jacob, are you going to die? I have been missing for 2 days and 2 nights. I didn't have a phone call or a WeChat message from you, so you went to a party? As soon as Jacob heard this, he suddenly slammed in his heart, and his originally passionate heart instantly became extremely cold. It's over, this stinky lady is really back. God is too unfair to him, his good days have just passed 2 days. He just started to party and sing with miking. Without any substantial development, this stinky lady is back? Isn't this taking his life? He was so depressed that he almost wanted to die, but Elaine on the other end of the phone asked angrily, Jacob of the Dog Day, are you dumb? Why are you not talking? Jacob hurriedly explained, oh, my wife, don't be angry with your husband and listen to me. I have been looking for you for these 2 days. If you don't believe me, you can ask your girl or Charlie. In order to find you, I will talk to Charlie. We searched all the mahjong halls in Oris Hill. Elaine yelled, don't tell me that it's useless, I just want to know who you are partying with. How can I listen to someone singing? Are you in KTV? Well, you have no conscience, you were still in the mood to sing when I was unclear about my life and death. Jacob explained, when I meet with some old classmates, they called me over. Elaine gritted her teeth and cursed, I tell you Jacob, I have a broken leg and I am about to go to the emergency department of the People's Hospital. You'd better roll over to me immediately, otherwise I will never end with you. Jacob was shocked, how dare he say no at this time, and hurriedly said, okay wife, I will come now. After speaking, he hung up the phone and ran back to the box. At this time, his sweetheart, miking, was singing duet to Xie Wenru. He must not be jealous, and hurriedly said to miking, I have something important to do. I must leave. Miking asked in surprise, why are you leaving now? Is something wrong? Nothing happened. Jacob chuckled and said, it's just a call from home to tell me something. Let me go. I have to go back first. Miking nodded and asked, it doesn't matter, do you want me to come and help? Jacob hurriedly waved his hand and blurted out, no need, no, I can go by myself. Although miking was a bit regretful, she nodded her head very understandingly and said, then if you need any help, remember to call me. Okay. Jacob nodded, and hurriedly said to the others, everyone, I have to leave a little bit beforehand, you should eat and drink and have fun. Everyone couldn't help saying, Jacob, this is just beginning to sing, why would you leave? We haven't heard your singing. Jacob can only bite the bullet and say, there is something really urgent this time. Xie Wenru felt very happy and said, "Oh, Jacob, did Elaine call you to urge you to go back? You didn't bring her to the party. She must be angry." Jacob glared at him and said coldly, "Xie Wenru, what's the matter with you? Why are you everywhere?" After speaking, he reluctantly glanced at Miking and turned his head out of the box. As soon as he got out of the box, Jacob stamped his feet with anger. "What is this? How did Elaine come back so soon? Why can't she learn from Horia? Look at Horia, there has been no news since she disappeared, and it's just like the world has evaporated. If Elaine could learn from her, it would be great." Jacob rushed out of the glorious clubhouse, hurriedly drove his BMW to the People's Hospital. Also running towards the People's Hospital was Claire, who was full of worries. She heard that her mother's leg was broken, and she was extremely anxious in her heart. She didn't know what happened to her mother in the past 2 days. Elaine hung up the phone, holding her right leg, aching cold sweat like rain. While she screamed, she urged the driver in annoyance, and said, "Can you still work with this broken car? Drive so slow. I am hurt, you know." The taxi driver said unhurriedly, "City driving is limited in speed. I must strictly follow the speed limit regulations. Speeding will not only deduct points, but also pose a great threat to the safety of pedestrians." Threatening your mother? Elaine was feeling angry. Hearing what she said, she immediately scolded angrily, "Drive faster. It hurts me so much that you can make more money, or why? You are so delaying. In case I am disabled, my mother will never end with you in this life." The driver said helplessly, "I have driven this car fast enough. If you think I am driving slow, then you can go down and change to another car." Elaine didn't even think about it, and blurted out, "What's your attitude? Believe it or not, I will complain about you. Believe it or not, I will make you unemployed today." The driver said angrily, "I follow the traffic rules and regulations. What are you complaining about me? Are you complaining about my unwillingness to speed?" Elaine gritted her teeth and cursed, "I complain that you are indecent and sexually harassed me." The driver laughed suddenly, looked at her through the rear-view mirror, and said contemptuously, "You look at what you look like, so ugly. Your 2 front teeth are gloriously laid off, just like the one in the sketch-like song Dandan. You still have the face to say that I sexually harass you? Don't sexually harass me, I will burn a lot of incense." Elaine herself suffocated her stomach. When she heard that the driver dared to talk back to her, even dared to ridicule her ugliness, she suddenly became angry and shouted coldly, "What's your name? Which company do you work for? I'm right now calling to complain, believe it or not." When the driver heard this, he immediately became angry and pulled the car over and said disdainfully, "If you want to complain, please complain. If I can't take your order, get out of here." Elaine scolded, "Let me go down? How old are you? Drive me quickly, have you not heard? You're delaying my treatment of legs, and I am desperate with you." The driver turned off the car and sneered, "I'm sorry, my car is broken and can't go. If you don't want to get off, then you just stay here." Elaine did not expect that the other party would not buy her own account at all, and was about to continue to get angry, but did not expect the driver to push the car door and smoke. Charlie was amused while sitting in the co-pilot. The mother-in-law seems to never figure out the situation. Now it is her own broken leg that needs treatment as soon as possible, and it is not the broken leg of a taxi driver. What is the point of her pretending to be a taxi driver? Now people just stop driving, isn't she the one who delayed it? But Charlie didn't bother to care about her, so he deliberately asked, "Mom, what shall we do now? Can't you just spend it here?" Elaine is about to explode, but now she has a broken leg and must rush to the hospital for treatment as soon as possible. Otherwise, what if she is left behind and becomes disabled later? So she could only say to Charlie, "Go and stop another car." Charlie nodded, got out of the car and walked to the side of the road to wait for a while, beckoning to stop another taxi. Afterwards, he returned to the car just now and helped Elaine out of the broken leg. Elaine managed to endure the pain in her leg, got out of the car, and then endured the pain again, and was sent into another car by Charlie. As soon as she was driving away, she lowered the window and cursed the driver who was smoking on the side of the road. "Bad son, you must have a car accident and die outside today." When the driver heard this, he cursed with anger, "You ugly woman must have died in front of me." Elaine was immediately furious and wanted to stick out her head to continue cursing, but the car had already driven far, so she could only give up in anger. Charlie, who hadn't spoken all the time, couldn't help but sigh in his heart. "Hey, mother-in-law, seems to have been tortured in the detention center, otherwise she would not be like this." He couldn't help but began to sympathize with his old father-in-law Jacob. Elaine wanted to know that he was busy dating Miking these 2 days, and he couldn't get his brains out. The taxi came to the emergency department of Oris Hill People's Hospital. Claire was already waiting here. Seeing Elaine not only broke a leg, but also had a miserable appearance with a blue nose and a swollen face. Even 2 of her front teeth had fallen out. She couldn't help but her eyes were red. She walked up and asked, crying, "Mom, how can you suffer like this? Such a serious injury." When Elaine saw her daughter, she felt sad. All the grievances she had suffered in the past 2 days could not be restrained at this moment. She hugged Claire and cried loudly, "My dear girl, Mom's life is so bitter, don't you know? I almost died in these 2 days, you almost never saw Mom again." After speaking, Elaine's mood suddenly collapsed, and she burst into tears. Claire saw that her mother had been wronged so much, naturally she felt very uncomfortable. While supporting her mother, she cried and asked, "Mom, what's the matter with you these past few days? Tell me." Elaine wiped out a tear, with an urge in her heart, wanting to tell her daughter exactly what happened. But when the words came to her lips, she swallowed them all back. She knew that she couldn't talk nonsense about this kind of words, otherwise the words would cause death or jail. So she could only lie, "Hey, don't mention it. Mom led a MLM swindle. After that person tricked me into the MLM organization, she kept beating me and forced me to buy their products. But how can I have money? They kept beating me, and they didn't give me food, my front teeth were knocked out by them." Claire hurriedly asked, "Mom, have you called the police? Let the police arrest them." Elaine cried and said, "Later, the MLM organization was caught by the police, and even I was arrested by the police into the detention center. Unexpectedly, I met your grandma and Wendy in the detention center. They were both in the detention center. There they got together to bully me. Claire asked in shock, Grandma and Wendy? Why are you locked up with them? Elaine cried out of breath and said, I don't know why I was so unlucky that I met two of them. They didn't let me sleep, didn't let me eat, and they put cold water on me. You don't know what kind of life your mother has been living in the past 2 days, that is worse than. Claire burst into tears when she heard this. Elaine vented for a while, just as her mood improved a little, suddenly thought of Jacob, and immediately questioned, Claire, you tell me the truth, who on earth did your dad go to the party with? Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.